So this old idea that eating fat makes you fat, it's actually backwards. Eating carbohydrates in excess creates fat.
Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So if you don't know who ZDogg is, he's that medical doctor who filmed himself watching and responding to the documentary What the Health. And yeah, I made a response video to that. So if you haven't seen that, just go check it out. I'll put a link up here down below. Check it out now. Anyway, yeah, in that video of ZDogg, yeah, he put a lot of misinformation out there about carbs. How carbs are dangerous, they get you fat. Well, that put him on my radar. All that misinformation he was saying about high carbohydrate diets. Well, it turns out he's no surprise, a low carb proponent, super fearful of carbs, saying that they cause all sorts of diseases from obesity to cancer, diabetes, even heart disease. So let's have a look.
So you've eaten a big old white bagel with jelly. So you have fructose from the jelly, you have a ton of glucose that's broken down from the wheat in the bagel. Boom, you get a spike in blood glucose. The liver's full, the muscle's full really fast.
Nope, wrong. One single jelly bagel will not saturate your body's muscles and liver glycogen stores.
Now what happens? The liver still takes that glucose, but it turns it into triglycerides, aka fat.
Well, ZDogg is right that triglycerides are a type of fat that your body creates after eating calories your body doesn't need immediately, but what ZDogg fails to mention is that eating food high in saturated fat is what leads to a spike in triglycerides. And that's further worsened by eating foods that are high in cholesterol, like eggs and dairy. And if I can share a personal anecdotal story here, I've been getting my blood tested ever since I turned high carb vegan in 2012. Back then, my triglycerides in my blood, 136. Last year, still high carb vegan, 137. And by the way, those are good readings. In fact, my triglycerides are much lower now than when I was eating a standard American diet, when my doctor warned me to watch my triglycerides.
So if you eat a mango, it's just sweet, it's full of fructose, it's like eating a sugar bomb.
Nope, wrong again, ZDogg. Triglyceride spikes do not happen when eating whole fruits, regardless of their sugar content.
And over years, a high carbohydrate diet, an abusively high carbohydrate diet.
I wonder what ZDogg would consider an abusive high carb diet. Like in the morning, I'll have a smoothie, easy, dozen bananas in there.
A dozen?
A dozen.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
So,
I mean, you both look fit, but a dozen bananas.
And so I see a lot of people who they're drinking their calories in the form of sugar, they're drinking smoothies and juicing.
Yep, big fruit smoothie for breakfast, so what?
Very, 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 for many people that can be very bad. It's just gonna trigger hunger and insulin and for all the reasons that we talked about.
Well, as my blood tests show, I'm perfectly healthy. So what is supposed to happen to me having this abusive high carb diet?
Abusively high carbohydrate diet can cause something called fatty liver, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis.
Well, if you look up non-fatty alcoholic liver disease on a site like WebMD, none of these sites make any mention of this disease being caused by eating too many carbs, too many plants. In fact, the cause of this disease seems to be caused by the foods that ZDogg recommends.
Dietary cholesterol found in eggs, meat, and dairy oxidizes, and then upregulates liver X receptor alpha, which can upregulate something else called SREBP, which can increase the level of fat in the liver.
And we're seeing increasing cases of this, leading to severe things like cirrhosis and the need for liver transplants.
Oh really? You're telling me one of the risks of going high carb vegan is that I will one day need a liver transplant?
So when you eat that Big Mac, you have protein, you have fat, you have a ton of carbohydrates because you're eating it with fries.
Really, eating potatoes cooked in high-fat oil is a high-carb dish? That's about 43% calories from fat. That's not high carb by any stretch, but this is starting to reveal what your perceptions of carbs are. It's really messed up.
You're sipping it down with a drink that's usually sugary, and the bread in that is full of carbs. So you overwhelm the liver's ability to store glucose, the muscle's ability to store glucose.
So this is a new one. McDonald's is so high carb that it will saturate your body's ability to store glycogen. Well, I entered in your Big Mac and fries and soda into Chronometer, and you get 126 grams of carbs, far from saturating your body's glycogen stores.
And now you flood your blood with fat. That then is stored as fat.
I agree. You flooded your body with fat because it's a high-fat meal. Not fat from triglycerides, but fat from the high-fat content of this meal. Let's take a look on Chronometer once again. So 40% of this meal's calories are from fat, and less than 50% are from carbs. This is not a high-carb, low-fat meal by any stretch of the imagination.
Appetizers are associated with higher weight gain. Why is this? Because appetizers stimulate insulin early. Now, appetizers typically are things with carbs, little fried things, chips, guacamole with chips.
There you go, you did it again. That is not a high carb food there. Let's start off with the guacamole. Avocados, nearly 80% of their calories come from fat. And let's look at the chips. Yeah, they start off as corn, but then they're deep fried in oil, which is 100% calories from fat. So this is a high fat appetizer. So instead of having chips and guacamole, what do you recommend as a healthy appetizer?
You ordered chicken wings. Chicken wings have minimal carbohydrate, a lot of fat, and a lot of protein. They don't trigger as much insulin secretion.
What happens if I have a high carb appetizer?
So you get this quick rise because you have simple sugars absorbed really fast, then the insulin, and then bam, because insulin stimulates hunger by dropping your blood sugar levels.
All right, so insulin spikes are bad, and therefore we should avoid that by avoiding carbs and eating meat instead. That's your theory, ZDogg?
And it's ironic to me that, you know, the foundation of these theories tend to be that, you know, carbs are bad because they increase insulin production. And insulin, having high levels of insulin associated with cancer, associated with lots of bad things. But, meat is insulinogenic. There's a paper by Holt and colleagues, 1997, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, called, in fact you can look it up, it's probably free by now, Insulin Index of Foods. And it says you eat this much of, and they went through about 50 different foods, and eating beef causes a greater spike in insulin than white potatoes and white pasta and white rice. More insulin, and if that's the villain, right, then you'd stay away from the meat.
If we're on a Western diet where it's high carb.
Wrong again, ZDogg. I guess for you low carbers, getting any amount of carbs is high carb, but standard American diet has roughly 50% of its calories coming from carbs. That's definitely not high carb.
And this cycle of glucose spikes, insulin release, drop, hunger, fat storage of the glucose is what I would say in many people is killing us. And it's been seen in South Asian populations mercilessly. They're very sensitive to this.
I cannot believe I'm hearing this coming from a medical doctor, that Southeast Asians their health's being devastated by high carb diets. Well, let's see who eats the most rice in the world per capita. A lot of people in Southeast Asia, namely people in Vietnam, eat the most rice in the world per capita. So according to ZDogg's theories, we should see all sorts of horrible disease and obesity. While in the United States, where we don't even make the top 10 rice eaters, we have over 35% of our adults obese. In Vietnam, 1%, the lowest rate of adult obesity in the world.
The fact that excess carbohydrates can lead to an insulin-resistant state where insulin promotes other types of inflammation that are bad in terms of heart vessel, so cardiogenic, triglycerides circulating, cardiogenic problems like atherosclerosis, heart disease, etc.
So you heard it here first, guys. Eating a diet high in carbohydrates, carb-rich plants will cause you to get heart disease. Well, this flies in the face of everything known about the causes of heart disease. In fact, it's been shown that plant-based diets, which means eating a bunch of carbohydrates, not only protects one from heart disease, it actually reverses heart disease. Take a look at one of these photos from Dr. Esselstyn's studies here. The artery on the left is before, the artery on the right is after, once they did a high-carb diet. And notice how the artery has opened back up. There's more blood flow. If your diet can do this, ZDogg, your diet high in saturated fat, low in carbs, can open an artery back up, let me know. I will shut up. You will never hear from me again.
Cancers in the form of inflammatory things and the growth promotion of insulin itself. So high insulin levels are bad. And then of course things like diabetes, high blood pressure, which is promoted by insulin and high carb diets as well.
So not only does my way of eating cause heart disease, you say I'm at high risk for cancer now and diabetes. That's strange. I thought diabetes was caused by too much intracellular fat, and that is from eating too much saturated fat in your diet.
After controlling for weight and alcohol and smoking and exercise and family history, diabetes incidence was significantly associated with the proportion of saturated fat in our blood. High-calorie diets rich in saturated fats is currently considered the cause of type 2 diabetes.
Again, what's your opinion, ZDogg, of carbs versus saturated fat?
Too many carbohydrates in the Western diet are bad. And I'm not making an assertion on low fat, high fat, and we can talk about fats another time. The fact that saturated fats causing heart disease is a myth in the absence of excess carbohydrates.
But, what troubles me is, this isn't an academic debate. This isn't an academic discussion. Who's right, who's wrong. It's people are going to listen to these and actually hurt themselves, hurt their families. People are going to die. What's their number 1 cause of death? Number 2 cause of death? Go down the list. These are largely diet-related diseases, and to tell people to eat these kind of diets that it's not that it's not based on science. The science is the opposite. This is not the Dr. Greger diet versus the Dr. Atkins diet. It's the science. It's centuries of science.
So ZDogg, if you are watching this, here's my sincere advice for you. In my previous video, I recommended that you read Dr. Garth Davis's book, Proteinaholic. This video, I've been featuring Dr. Greger of nutritionfacts.org, and I highly recommend his book to you. I'm sure it'll resonate for you if you're interested in this stuff. It's called How Not to Die. And I have a third book, and this one I will give to you. It's our book, Gasp. It's called Keep It Carbed, Baby, because you seem to have no idea of what high-carb foods are if you compare McDonald's and bagels and guacamole and chips as being high-carb meals, which they are not. This book here, I will give it to you for free. You can see, except for one recipe that has an option for bread, which you don't have to use, these are whole food plants, high in carbohydrates. That's what we're talking about, not McDonald's. So just get in contact. I will send it to you free. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit like if you got something out of it, and let me know down below, what did you think of seeing ZDogg's comments here? How carbs are going to kill you, give you cancer, give you heart disease, make you obese, and the like. I was just shocked. I had to put on that face that he does when I heard this stuff. Anyway, let me know your reactions as well down here. And if you're new, hit subscribe for more vegan content, nutrition information from Angie and me here at Happy Healthy Vegan. So until next time, this goes out to you, ZDogg. Keep it carved, baby. Keep it carved.